Hi everyone, I'm making a farming game, small project. I have a problem that in my game there are many rooms. I want to make plants, crops in room 0, pumpkin, grow in 4 days, 1 day growth for 1 sprite, and then I control the player move the room 1. And the problem is the time for growth of pumpkin will not run if the player is in room 1. I tried finding something in the forums, but there is not a solution for this. I know the solution that we need have the control manage time. This can be made persistent to manage the time for many rooms, but I do not know how to do it. Please help me out for this. I am very grateful for your help. Thanks for reading. So I decided to make a video about solving this particular issue. The question is how to make time move in a separate non-persistent rooms. And it's very simple. Here we are in our project. I have made a few sprites, like this is the pumpkin sprite with 4 sub-images. It's not a great graphics, but it's something. Here is our farmer sprite. It's nothing great, but it's a farmer. Here is our farmer object that has the basic movement left and right and room transitions. And here are our 2 rooms, the farming room and the non-farming room. We're going to create an object named object farm control. Let me spell that correctly. There we go. So this is where we're going to store our time, this is where we're going to store our pumpkins that we have planted. Forgive me for stuttering out here. We're going to make this persistent because we need this object to be persistent in every room we are, because this is the object that tracks time. Now we're going to make a pumpkin object. There we go, this is our pumpkin object. We're going to give it a pumpkin sprite. That's it for now. Now in our farmer we already have the basic movement and stuff like that. We need to create the planting. We're going to plant with space. And the planting will first of all create our pumpkin object and we'll set our timer for when the pumpkin was planted. Let me increase the font and open up the window so people can see better. This will create our pumpkin object like 16 pixels next to our farmer. This is very basic stuff. And there we go. Now for this pumpkin object we're going to create a small array inside of our controller object. We're going to momentarily set the image speed to 0, meaning the animation will not play. The animation will not play, and we can control the sub-images of the pumpkin. Now we're going to send information to our controller object. We're going to send the information of X and Y coordinates, meaning where we have planted our pumpkin. There we go, the X and Y coordinates. And then we're going to save another variable. This is the important part. This is the variable the moment when the pumpkin was planted, meaning the date when the plant was popped in the ground. This is a variable that's going to be in our object farm control, so we can just use our object farm control. Oh, I said object farm. Come on now. Brain, work. There you go. You're working. Dot time. So this is the current time that the pumpkin is planted. And this is what we're going to track. How long has it passed since we planted the pumpkin, and what date is today, and so on and so forth. So we move to our controller object. And the first thing in our controller object is our create event. We set it as persistent. Don't forget to set it as persistent. You want your object to be persistent. And we're going to set momentarily our time to 1. This is our date. This is our day 1. Yeah. I'm going to make a small draw event that will show you the date in the corner of the screen. There we go. We're done with that. There we go. It's up there. White font. I didn't bother changing the font, but that's fine. The next thing we need to do is set up a mechanic where you skip a day, meaning when you go to bed, usually in games like Stardew Valley and Harvest Moon, when you go to bed you skip to the next day. In our case, I'm just going to have the press center. If you want something more complex, you can program anything more complex than that. It's up to you from that point forward. There we go. But that's not the only thing we need. We don't just want to set the time +1. Why? Because this is not the only thing that changes at this point. Now go into our object pumpkin. In the create event, we're going to set up a variable named grow time equal 4. This gives us the information how many days does the pumpkin need to actually grow from plant to completely grown, finished, done, ready for harvest. There we go. Now let's play test and see where we are at right now. Okay, we have our date and time, we have our farm, our farmer. There we go. I planted a pumpkin, I moved to the other room, and when I come back the pumpkin is not here. The pumpkin is not here because when I move to another room everything in the farm gets destroyed momentarily, which we can easily fix. Now this is just a room transition. At a room start, meaning when a room starts, we check what room we're in. If the room is the farm room, if the room is our farm, yeah. So basically, if we enter our farm, we want to use the data we already saved, meaning we want to create back the object that we saved as X and Y location and the date we planted. We want to create it again because when we move to another room it gets destroyed. Now we're going to set the subimage, meaning at what stage of growth the pumpkin is, which is exactly what we're talking about here, the passage of time. This is the important part we want. We already have the date of planting, which is plant square brackets 2. This is the time we planted, the day we planted the pumpkin. So we just have to remove the current time from it. And we get the image index, we get how far the plant is into its growing cycle. And that's that. Just to be sure, I'm going to set the image speed to 0 because I don't want the animation to play. I want to be able to control the image index myself. Here we're going to make a little check if statement. It's very simple. I'm just going to check if we have anything planted. The only way to do that safely without screwing anything up in the code is to check if we have a time planted. If we have a date for a vegetable we have planted. Yes, because the date will never be 0, so I can just set it to 0 to begin with and check it every time. This will give us an error, obviously. Let me set up some stuff. This is going to be our array that I didn't set up properly before anything. In the create event you should always set up your arrays. it helps clear out issues, errors down the line. And we have another error. And for a while I look at this and I had absolutely no idea where the error come from. And then it dawned on me, I am just cross-referencing too many variables with the same name, plant. And this is where the entire thing messes up massively. So I just went back to it and renamed one of the variables named plant. I just renamed it to pumpkin, and now everything is smooth as butter. There we go, room transition works, planting a plant, going back, the plant is still here, yep. There we go. Now when I skip a day, the plant doesn't change anything until we reload the room. So I have to go to the next room and go back, and then our pumpkin grows. There we go, see? Now I'm back and we have the pumpkin. It's not about skipping the day, it's about reloading the room. So now all I need to do is I move to day 4, and there we go, we have our finished grown pumpkin. So now all I need to do is to restart the room whenever I'm skipping a day, and that will basically solve all of my problems. Okay, let's see what's going on. Okay, we're restarting the room. Our guy snaps back to the side of the room, meaning it all works. There we go, we planted a thing. Moving to the other room, skipping a day. Day 3, we move now to day 4. We go back, it has grown. We move to the other room, skip another day. Go back, it has grown a bit more. And when we skip another day, it is fully grown. And that's it. That's all we want. Now from this point forward, if you want other stuff in your game, you can just build on top of that. If you want more plants, you need multi-dimensional arrays, which are not an easy thing, or you can use DS grids or DS maps or whatever you want to use. This is a way to do it. This is a way to keep track of time. Basically just take the time as a variable and put it in a persistent object that goes throughout the entire game. Do not mistake the in-game time with real-time time, you know, because they're two different things, unless you don't want them to be, which is completely different topic. But that is the basic idea of how to keep time going on, time flowing throughout the entire game. Basically put it in a persistent object, and that is that. So that will be all from me, and I'll eventually see you in the next one.